We certainly weren't short of goals on the opening weekend. Yes, welcome along to this week's Women's Football Chat. My name is Chris Gadsby. I'm here every Thursday at 6 p.m, bringing you the very latest from the third and fourth tiers of women's football here in England. That's the FA Women's National League and the 6 divisions it encompasses. And finally, after a very long summer, we are back with league action with the opening round of fixtures, with 70 of the 72 teams playing on Sunday. So we'll go through all of that in just a few moments' time. Busy show coming up this week. We've got to look at all of those games that took place on Sunday in the early tables. We've got a round of league fixtures coming up this weekend, and then the midweek FAWNL Cup determining round. So we've got essentially 2 lots of fixtures to look at, as well as results to go back on and tables to have a look at. Of course, tables don't really tell us a whole amount just yet, but we will have a look at them anyway. We will start, if you are new to the show this season, as we always do, with the Northern Premier Division. And some really big results in this division, starting first with some tough opening day for the newly promoted teams of Hull City and Sporting Cowser. We'll start though with Hull City, who lost by 9 goals to 0 to Burnley. Burnley, who take the lead through Naomi Hartley in the 14th minute, Claudia Walker in the 16th, Charlie Doherty in the 18th. So 3 goals in the space of 5 minutes for Burnley. Grace Palmer then in the 21st and the 52nd. Brenna McPartlin in the 68th. Amelia Hazard in the 70th. And then just that final nail in the coffin, Laura Elford in the 96th minute. And then, of course, there are the 2 ways of looking at this, in which that we know from past experience across the divisions. You only had to look at it in South West last year. Then there was I think it was South West again the year before that. We've seen it in the Northern Premier Division as well. Is that goal difference can make a big difference in this league. We have seen teams win the league just on goal difference. So yes, the game might have been won at 4-0, 5-0, but fair play to Burnley to keep going, because it might be that those extra 3 or 4 goals that they've scored in the opening day of the season could make the difference come next May. Halifax 0, Rugby Borough 10, very much a similar sort of situation here. 2 hat-tricks for Rugby Borough. Yasmin Mosby in the 14th, 30th and 92nd. Nikki Potts 34th, 45 plus 1 and 88. They were helped by goals from Jessica Camwell, Katie Morris, Angelina Nixon and Ebony Wiseman. So Rugby Borough, fair to say, have taken to life in the Northern Premier Division quite well. With a 10-0 victory. Of course, because it's only the first week of the season, we're not going to know yet. Is this Rugby Borough are incredibly strong? Is this Halifax are actually quite weak? Is it somewhere between the 2 and they were just having a really off day? It's not until we have the next round of fixtures, the Cup, and probably the next round after that, when you've seen 3 or 4 games, that you'll start to think, okay, they might well struggle this year. More of a boring game. Liverpool Feds against West Bromwich Albion, drawing 1-1. Emma Johnson in the 80th minute for Liverpool Feds. Francesca Orthodoxou for West Brom with the goal for them. So they share the points on the opening day. Sporting Cowser gave it a good go for a while against Derby. Kira Ray had put the U's in front on the 15th minute. Niamh Deasy for Sporting Cowser, or also scoring in the first half. So 1-1 at half time, and 1-1 with 20 minutes to go. Sporting Cowser giving themselves a very good showing before Derby. 72nd minute Shen Muir, and then 80th minute Rebecca May, 93rd minute Camille Jenkins. Ended up with what was a very comfortable result in the end by just turning it on a bit in the last 20 minutes or so. But Derby County getting a 4-1 win on the opening day of the season. Forest a 3-0 win away at Stoke City. 2 for Natalie Johnson, 54th and 62nd minute, and then 1 for Charlie Wellings in the 69th. So a result here for Forest where it's 3 points in the bag, absolutely, against a side that you would suspect are going to be top half, maybe top third of the table come the end of the season. It was one where you're following along online, you go, okay, it's half time, it's still 0-0. Okay, we're like 8 minutes into the second half, it's still 0-0. Then the goal comes through, you think, okay. Then the second goal comes through 8 minutes later, you think, okay, it's starting to go a bit more in Forest's direction now. And then they had a goal disallowed as well. So there could have been more than it was. Not quite as a convincing victory as I think some people may have thought, given everything that's been happening with Forest over summer. But I think given that Stoke are going to be top half, top third, I think the big results against the likes of Sporting Cowser, Stourbridge, Halifax, I think they will come. It's just a case of having to wait a bit longer for those. And then finally in the Northern Premier Division, Wolverhampton Wanderers 4, Stourbridge 0. Getting the goal scoring started early. Amber Hughes in the 12th minute, Charlotte Greengrass then in the 15th. Wolves then give themselves the opportunity to control the game. And then in the final 15 minutes, Tammy George in the 75th and Anya Denham in the 87th means that they beat Stourbridge by 4-0. An improvement for Stourbridge over last season when they were defeated by 7-0 on the opening day. The table then, it doesn't really tell you a whole lot, of course, with just one game being played. Same as in previous seasons, I won't start doing the directional arrows for who's gone up and who's gone down until we've played 4 or 5 games, because at this point, everyone's just going to move all over the place next weekend and then the weekend after that. But Rugby Borough, unsurprisingly, they top the pile. Then Burnley, Wolves, Derby, Forest, the other teams that won. Fedson, West Brom shared their points. And then, of course, the teams going down in the other direction based on who they played. Let's go through then to the Southern Premier Division. AFC Wimbledon, great start to life in Tier 3 for them. A 1-1 draw against Lewis, who were relegated from the Championship last season. And it's Wimbledon who took the lead in this one on the half-hour mark. Leanne Bell putting them in front. And they were unlucky not to take all 3 points, because it was a 94th minute own goal that meant that Lewis got a point from that game. So Wimbledon really look, again, very early days, but Wimbledon really look as though they could suit life in Tier 3 quite well. Billericay Town, they started well, 4-0 over Gwali United, not the start the Welsh side would have wanted. 2 for Maddie Biggs, 1 for Valentine Percy and 1 for Cara Fordier for Billericay Town. Comfortable win for them in the end. Cheltenham Town beating Plymouth Argyle by the same scoreline. Henna Butcher in the 17th minute, Lacey J Liggett 43rd, Una Liu in the 48th and Emily Owen in the 63rd. Exeter City, another side, they will do fine, it looks like, in Tier 3. A 7-0 victory over Milton Keynes Dons, but very much like the Northern Premier Division, we know Milton Keynes Dons have had problems this summer. Is that they are very bad? Is it Exeter are very good? Is it somewhere in the middle? We'll see in the next few weeks. But a hat-trick for Sophie Gillies, 30th, 38th and 59th. 2 for Sarah Stacey, 17th and 66th. Emily Toogood in the 43rd and Bo Jackson in the 90th. So Exeter, great start to life in Tier 3 for them. Hashtag United, they beat Watford by 3-1, so watch out for Hashtag United again this season. Holly Turner, 26th minute, Grace Gillard, 57th minute, and Freda Aisi, 71st minute. Ellie Head with the goal for Watford in the 18th minute. And finally, kind of a fixture you always look for in the Southern Premier Division. Oxford United 0, Ipswich Town 3. Sophie Peskett with 2, 21st and 55th minute. Lucy O'Brien in the 53rd minute with the other goal for Ipswich Town. So a 3-0 victory for them over Oxford. A lot of people have tipped Ipswich to be the team to try and catch this season. Southern Premier Division table then again doesn't give you a great deal just after one game, but Exeter City top the pile, followed by Billericay Town and Cheltenham Town with a goal difference of 4 each. Then Ipswich and Hashtag United, the other teams that won. AFC Wimbledon and Lewis are in mid-table after sharing their points, and then Watford, Oxford United, Gwalior United, Plymouth and Milton Keynes Dons down towards the bottom. Let's go through then into Division 1 Midlands. Plenty of change in this league over the summer, of course, with Barnsley Women's dropping from the north into the Midlands to balance up the leagues again, and they drew 1-1 with Boldmere St Michael's. Rosie Axton had put Barnsley in front in the 35th minute, but Beth Merrick equalised for Boldmere St Michael's in the second half. Leafield Athletic, though, great start to the season for them. You remember they were a side that kind of pulled off a bit of a great escape last season, and they won 2-1 against Northampton Town with a late goal from Evangeline Gallup in the 88th minute, giving them all 3 points. Jessica Lowe had put them in front in the 14th minute before Jade Bell in the 43rd minute equalised for Northampton, but a really valuable 3 points for Leafield Athletic to start their campaign. Lincoln City, same can't be said for them. 6-0 defeat to Loughborough Lightning. Loughborough Lightning, a side you would expect to be up near the top again this season, and they showed it's a bit of class really with a 6-0 victory over Lincoln. Fern Powell in the 15th minute, Sarah Woodburn in the 38th, and then Lauren Purchase 57th and 59th. And then 2 in the same minute, LMA Coots and Ella Jarawicki, both in the 79th minute. 6-0 the win for Loughborough Lightning. Notts County beating Lincoln United by 2-1. Rhea Bailey put Notts in front in the 24th minute, but Lincoln United answered straight back 1 minute later through Isabel Thorpe, and then a very late goal for Notts. Jessie Knott in the 89th minute gave them all 3 points, but probably plenty there for Lincoln United to be pleased with from their opening day performance. It is going to be very much a case of kind of picking and choosing the games that they want to really attack. An example, you would expect them to falter to the Loughboroughs, the Peterboroughs, the Boldmere St Michael's, the Barnsley Women's. They were up, of course, towards the top of the north last season, but it's going to be very much picking your games against the likes of Worcester City, these Notts counties. So to only lose to a very late goal against Notts County, I think they will be relatively okay with. Sutton Coldfield Town beat Solihull Moors by 1-0. Ava Rogers 8 minutes from time with the only goal in that one. And then Worcester City, a 4-1 defeat to Peterborough United is not bad at all. Tara Kirk in the 4th and the 9th minute for Peterborough put them 2-0 up very early on. Keir Perkins just before the half-hour mark made it 3-0 by half-time. 4-0 Renee Bennett in the 62nd minute, but then Jessica Fasnage got one back for Worcester City, their first FAWNL goal, as they fall by 4-1. Midlands table then, again, one game, but kind of tells a little bit you would expect that Loughborough and Peterborough are two of the sides that you would expect to be up near the top of the table come May, and we'll just see kind of how the league starts to settle down over the next few weeks or so. Again, 5 wins, 1 draw, 5 losses. That seems to be the theme so far on this week's show. But some really good early results for the likes of Leafield Athletic Notts County, who struggled a little bit last year and were able to just survive kind of by the skin of their teeth really in the end. So to get points on the board early, as we always know, getting them on the board early and not having to chase at the end of the season is a great place to be. So good results for them. Let's move through into the north then. Much tighter games in the north. Barnsley, in their first game in the FAWNL, draw 2-2 with FAWNL, who came down from the Northern Premier Division last season. It was Barnsley who took the lead in the second half through Freya Walton in the 59th minute. Lois Moore equalised for FAWNL just 6 minutes later. Ruby Jacks Oldfield then put Barnsley in front again with 9 minutes to go. They must have thought they'd have got all 3 points. That Millie Tyndall, with 4 minutes remaining, equalised again for FAWNL, and the points are shared there. Doncaster Rovers Bells against Durham Sestra, a great back and forth game this one. So Anna Salisbury put Durham in front in the 16th minute. Lucy Farrow then equalised for Doncaster just 3 minutes later, before Salisbury completed her hat-trick 52nd and 74th minute. 3-1 before Jessica Tugby-Andrew in the 94th minute pulled one back, made for a very interesting last couple of minutes, but Durham hold on to get a very good away win at Doncaster Rovers Bells. Huddersfield Town, the other side, relegated from Tier 3 last year, start with a 2-0 away win at Leeds. Bethany Ibbotson in the 45th minute and Molly Firth in the 91st minute with the goals for Huddersfield. And I think probably one of the performances of the day, really, Cheadle Town Stingers, of course, promoted from Tier 5 last season, said in their chat with me over the summer that they had no right playing the likes of Middlesbrough, Leeds, Huddersfield, all these big teams. And then opening day of the season, they go away to Middlesbrough and only lose by a 1-0. Jessica met with that goal. So keep your eye on Cheadle Town Stingers. It looks as though they might be able to get some very good results over the course of the season. Stockport County, 3-0 winners over Norton and Stockton Ancients. Natalie Watson, 43rd minute. Emily Bradshaw, 68th minute. Kennedy Owen, 77th minute. So most of the goals, 2 of the goals coming in the second half there, seems as though it was relatively spread out and comfortable for Stockport County. And York City losing by 3-0 at home to Chorley. A couple of early goals really put Chorley on the front foot here. 16th to Ella Ritchie and 24th to Molly Wood. They were able to hold that 2-0 lead right until the end of the game before Wood got her second at 90+1. Early Division 1 North table, then it's Chorley that top the table. Stockport County in second on the same goal difference. Then Huddersfield Town, Durham Sestra and Middlesbrough. FAWNL and Barnsley draw, so they have the mid-table. And then Doncaster, Cheadle, Leeds, Norton and York. Again, 5 wins, 1 draw, 5 defeats. All the leagues so far meeting that same kind of pattern. Division 1 South East then. We'll go through that one. Cambridge United 0, Actonians 1. Diane Noor with the goal for Actonians in this one. No time on that yet. Chatham Town 5, AFC Sudbury 1. So Chatham, very good start to the season for them after coming down from the Southern Premier Division. Atesha Charles with a hat-trick, Darcy Wells and Amelia Woodgate with the goals for them. Lena Nagib with the only goal for AFC Sudbury. Chesham United were 1-0 up at half-time to London Seaward through Gemma Fraser in the 12th minute, but Catherine Long in the 56th and the 67th minute pulled it back for London Seaward, made sure they took all 3 points. And a very good opening day for Dulwich Hamlet, despite losing. Norwich City firing away tipped to win Division 1 South East this year, and Dulwich Hamlet pushed them all the way. Asia Brown and Lucy Monkman with the goals for Dulwich Hamlet, Shannon Shaw, Ellie Smith and Hope Strauss with the goals for Norwich City, but no times on any of those. London Bees 2, Queen's Park Rangers 2. Goals in this one. Queen's Park Rangers actually taken a 2-0 lead early on in this one. Laura Hennessy in the 18th minute and Grace Stanley in the 21st put them 2-0 up, but that 2-0 lead only lasted a couple of minutes. Sophie Lee in the 23rd minute got one back for London Bees, and then Hayley Marie Hoare in the 77th minute equalised for the Bees. And the other promoted side, Real Bedford, had a great start, 3-0 at home to Ashford Town. Abby Benston in the 30th minute, Trisha Gould in the 64th, and Millie Hayes in the 90+10 with the result for Real Bedford. You look at the some of the names that Real Bedford have got in their lineup there, the likes of Benstead and Gould, and you sense that they might have a good season in Division 1 South East, despite the trouble they had with the pitch earlier throughout the summer and making sure they had somewhere to play. Same pattern again, 5 wins, 1 draw, 5 defeats in Division 1 South East. So it's Chatham Town that top the bill with a goal difference of 4, then Real Bedford, and then Norwich City, London Seawood and Actonians all with their +1 on the goal difference. Again, can't really read too much into the opening day of the season though. Let's finally go through then and look at Southwest. Of course, only 5 results in Division 1 Southwest, because Worthing against Southampton Women did not happen. Bournemouth Sports 0, Portishead Town 0. So not really a great deal to tell you about that game, other than a good opening point to life in the FAWNL for Bournemouth Sports. Abingdon United beat Bridgewater United by a 1-0. Mimi Hodges getting the goal just before half time there for Abingdon United. AFC Bournemouth convincing and comfortable 5-0 win against Bristol Rovers. Ellie Stripple in the 5th minute, Gemma McGuinness in the 18th, and Jenna Markham hat-trick. 33rd, 49th and 54th minute means that AFC Bournemouth have a very comfortable start to their FAWNL campaign, and you would suspect that that will continue. After just missing out to Exeter City last season, you would expect that Bournemouth will take the title this season, but there are plenty of teams, your Moneyfields, your Swindons, Worthing probably, we haven't seen them yet this season, that will want to say something about that. Keynsham Town 2, Swindon Town 4. Now Swindon were really in control of this game. Helen Diaz-Butcher in the 18th minute. Libby Davis got 2 in 1 minute in the 53rd. They were 3 goals to the good. Naomi Clipston got one back for Keynsham Town, but then Taylor McDonald put that 3-goal advantage back again for Swindon. So they were 4-1 up. Kira Lundy then got another one back for Keynsham with 10 minutes to go, but 4-2 Swindon hold on. And finally, Moneyfields 4-0 against Maidenhead United. 2 for Shannon Albury, 25th and 85th minute, and 2 for Charlie Wilson Wilton, 33rd and 67th minute. In terms of the Southwest table then, so Bournemouth top the table with their 5-goal difference. Moneyfields then in second, Swindon in third, Abingdon in fourth. Doesn't quite fit the same pattern because we had that postponement. So it's 4 wins, a draw and 4 losses in the Division 1 Southwest. So as it stands at the moment, that Southampton Women Bristol Rovers game that's meant to be happening this weekend is on. It seems to be on. So we will hopefully get Southampton Women in action. But of course, it is just Thursday morning. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Right, let's go through, because we've got plenty to go through in terms then of fixtures. We have essentially 2 rounds of fixtures to go through because of the determining round of the Cup being midweek this year. I mean, it's clear and we've done it before on this show, what the feelings towards that are. And the fact I could go through the map and go, they will play them, they will play them, doesn't look great. But we'll start with league fixtures then. So Northern Premier Division, new for this season with the graphics, you've got the fixtures then above me, and to help you out, because I know I talk about, oh, it's such and such against such and such, there is the league table on the right hand side of your screen. And so that will show you when I go, oh, it's second against fifth, doesn't really tell you a great deal. Then you look at the table and you go, ah, second are actually 20 points clear of fifth, and it shows much more what the situation is going to look like. So Derby County against Wolverhampton Wanderers. This is going to be another good test, because Derby they could be a dark horse. They could also struggle this season. They've lost a few key players, but it will be a good test between those two sides to see kind of where they're both at. Hull City against Stoke City at the moment is what's that, 9th against 11th, but again, so early on in the season, you can't really say too much. Forest at home to Sporting Cowser. That will be an opportunity for Forest to try and rack up the score. You would expect them to rack up the score. Rugby Borough against Liverpool Feds. Stourbridge host Burnley, and West Bromwich Albion take on Halifax. So I think what we're going to see this weekend, and this is across all of the leagues, is very much an indication of if teams had an off weekend or if they are really going to be that good this season. So for example, you look at Forest, they only beat Stoke 3-0. If they can rack up 7 or 8 against Sporting Cowser, that's what everybody expects. If Wolves score 5 or 6 against Derby, you get the impression that Derby are going to struggle a bit this season. With Halifax, they lost 10-0 to Rugby. Were they on an off day? If West Brom put 5 or 6 past them, you get the indication that Halifax are going to struggle this season. And it's that sort of, rather than this making or breaking a season, it just gives you an indication of where teams are going to be at. So you can't really read too much into like where teams are in the league table at this stage, but that is the situation in the Northern Premier Division coming up this weekend. Southern Premier Division, then Watford against Billericay Town, Gwalior United take on AFC Wimbledon, Ipswich Town against #United, Lewis against Exeter City, Milton Keynes Dons against Cheltenham Town, and Plymouth Argyle against Oxford United. So again, more of an indicator than anything else. Ipswich Town against #United, two teams tipped to be right up near the top come the end of the season. That's going to be an interesting game to keep your eye on. Also, how do Watford deal with life back in Tier 3? They've yo-yoed over the past couple of seasons. If they end up struggling to Billericay Town as well, then that could be an indicator that they might not be challenging to go straight back up after their defeat to #United. Gwalior United, not the result they would have wanted on the opening day of the season, particularly with the new investors, the new sponsors and everything. Can they respond to AFC Wimbledon, who went well against Lewis last weekend? Lewis Exeter City, again, that's going to be a good test for Exeter because, yeah, they won 7-0 over MK Dons, but we know MK Dons have had problems. How will they do? The other newly promoted side got a draw. Can Exeter go one better than that? Milton Keynes Dons, again, need to get the season going. If they lose heavily against Cheltenham Town, we could be seeing that MK Dons logo down in the bottom third for a lot of the season. And again, Plymouth Argyle, Oxford United, both defeated on the opening day of the season. They'll be looking to get their season up and running. Division 1 Midlands, Barnsley Women's against Leafield Athletic, Lincoln United take on Solihull Moors, Loughborough Lightning against Notts County, Northampton Town against Worcester City, Peterborough United take on Lincoln City, and Sutton Coldfield Town against Boldmere St Michael's. Now, the one that stands out to me there is Peterborough against Lincoln City, particularly in Peterborough. Are Lincoln going to find themselves on the wrong end of another heavy scoreline, which puts them right at the foot of the table? Yes, it's early, but they have had a difficult start to the season. What you don't want is a goal difference. We mentioned it earlier with Burnley, racking the goal difference up because it might have a big impact at the top. It also has an impact at the bottom as well. What you don't want is that goal difference to work as another point against you because it is so bad. And Lincoln have the danger if they lose heavily to Peterborough, then Lincoln have the danger that could happen to them. So they really need a good showing there. It will be tough for Notts County to get anything against Loughborough. Barnsley Women's against Leaford Athletic, a good opportunity to see where they really are this season. Good opportunity as well for Lincoln United against Solihull Moors, another team who are not challenging right up near the top. It's been a good start to the season for Lincoln United in terms of the teams they've been playing. Yes, they lost to Notts County, but they did give it a good showing, and it gets them up to that tier 4 speed relatively early on without losing too much in terms of ground or goal difference. And then Northampton Town against Worcester City. Worcester again will be looking much like Lincoln United, just finding their feet in the division. The aim for both of those teams is 10th. That's the aim. Moving into Division 1 North then, AFC Fylde against Leeds United, Cheadle Stingers against York City, Chorley take on Doncaster Rovers Bells, Durham Sestra against Barnsley, Huddersfield Town against Stockport County, and Norton Stockton Ancients against Middlesbrough. So, yeah, plenty of good opportunities in this division. The likes of Cheadle Stingers, you saw how well they did against Middlesbrough, only losing by 1-0. They then host York City. York have struggled the last few years and were defeated 3-0 by Chorley, who again weren't massively high up last season. So good opportunity for Cheadle to get something on the board. The big one this weekend, I think, Middlesbrough against Norton Stockton Ancients, that North-East derby, the first one of the season. And it'll be great to see how those two fare. But again, Division 1 North, it is just trying to give everybody a bit of an indication as to where teams are at. Division 1 South East, Actonians versus Chatham Town, AFC Sudbury against Queen's Park Rangers, Ashford Town against Chesham United, London Bees against Rail Bedford, London Seaward against Dulwich Hamlet, and Norwich City against Cambridge United. So when you look at, there are a few that stand out to me in this. There's two really, and it's the two newly promoted sides. London Seaward against Dulwich Hamlet. Dulwich Hamlet only just lost to Norwich. London Seaward only just won against Chesham last weekend. Dulwich Hamlet will go in there with confidence that they can take all 3 points. Likewise, Rail Bedford, after winning 3-0 against Ashford. Don't forget, Ashford were a side that were in and amongst it for quite a bit of last season. They'll be going away to London Bees full of confidence as well. So plenty of opportunities again for Rail Bedford to get themselves 6 from 6. Dulwich Hamlet will get themselves on the board as well. And I've mentioned it earlier, I'll mention it again, for these like newly promoted sides where survival is the key here. The idea is going to be get points on the board early, because then you're not having to chase. Because we have seen in the past, time and time again in these leagues, that you can survive with 15, 18 points. If you can get a third of that total in the first 2 weeks of the season, you are well on the way to surviving in the division. And that will be what the teams are after. How many teams will go 6 from 6? Chatham against Actonians, well, they both won last weekend, so that's one team down. Then you've got Norwich, Seaward and Rail Bedford. So you reckon that 2 teams from that will probably get a perfect 2 wins from 2. Then in Southwest, because it's a little bit different this table, Amden United against Moneyfield, AFC Bournemouth take on Worthing, Maidenhead United against Bridgewater United, Portishead Town against Keynsham Town, Southampton Women's against Bristol Rovers, and Swindon Town take on Bournemouth Sports. So this will be a really good test early on of what the top of the table is going to look like, because Bournemouth were expecting to be up there. Worthing were right up there in Division 1 South East. Will they be able to take that across? one thing that will probably work against Worthing, or two things that will probably work against Worthing. One, they're away, and two, they haven't had the match practice last week because the Southampton women's game was called off. So Bournemouth were probably going to be the favourites going into that one, but you never really know. I do hope that Southampton women's Bristol Rovers game can go ahead. I think Bristol Rovers won't want the lack of confidence coming from a big defeat, then not playing before they go into their cup game. I don't think they're going to want that because they've got a difficult cup game coming up as well. So be interesting to see, what happens with that. Bournemouth Sports, difficult for them as well because they're going away to Swindon. So it is going to be kind of an interesting one really as to how that really looks. Right, let's go through then and have a look at the FAWNL Cup. Most of the games, and I say here, most of the games are taking place this week because there is one, which is Cheshire United against Watford, that has gone down as the following week, the 5th of September, which is interesting. So let's have a look then at the Cup. So what I'll do is I'll run through all of the fixtures. So some of these are Tuesday, some Wednesday, some Thursday. We have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 of the games are on Thursday. So let's have a look at those alongside all of the others. So we've got Abingdon United, Oxford United, Actonians London Bees, Sudbury Billericay Town, Barnsley Women's, Boldmere St Michael's Stourbridge, Bridgewater Plymouth, Burnley Fylde, Chatham Cheshire United Watford, Chorley Cheadle Town, Derby County Loughborough Lightning, Exeter City Portishead Town, Gwalior United Bristol Rovers, Halifax Leeds, Huddersfield Doncaster, Hull Lincoln City, Leaford Athletic Rugby Borough, Lewes against Worthing, Liverpool Feds against Stockport County, London Seaward against Dulwich Hamlet, Maidenhead United against Ashford Town, Middlesbrough against Durham Sestra, Moneyfields against AFC Bournemouth, Northampton Town take on Cambridge United, Norwich City take on Ipswich Town, Nottingham Forest are against Notts County, Peterborough United take on Lincoln United, Queen's Park Rangers against AFC Wimbledon, Real Bedford against Milton Keynes Dons, Solihull Moors take on West Bromwich Albion, Southampton Women's against Bournemouth Sports, Sporting Calzo against Sutton Coldfield Town, Swindon Town against Keynsham Town, Wolverhampton Wanderers against Stoke City, Worcester City against Cheltenham Town, and York City against Norton and Stockton Ancients. So those are the ties. As I said, some of them are on, in fact, there's only two that are taking place on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, AFC Sudbury against Billericay Town, and Northampton Town against Cambridge United. Those are Tuesday fixtures. So then on Thursday, Actonians against London Bees, Boldmere St Michael's against Stourbridge, Bridgewater United against Plymouth Argyle, Chorley against Cheadle Town Stingers, Huddersfield Town against Doncaster Rovers Bells, Hull City against Lincoln City, London Seaward against Dulwich Hamlet, Maidenhead United against Ashford Town, Moneyfields taking on Bournemouth, Norwich City against Ipswich, Nottingham Forest against Notts County, Peterborough United against Lincoln United, Southampton Women against Bournemouth Sports, and Worcester City against Cheltenham Town. Then there is the one game the week after, which is Cheshire United against Watford, and all of the other ties are on Wednesday. So come next week's show, we will know quite a lot of the results from the FAWNL Cup determining round. What will be interesting, as that covers all of the fixtures for next week, what will be interesting is once we know who is in the cup and who is in the plate, how many of the teams from the plate have opted out of playing in the plate, which they were all given the option to do at the AGM. and how many PGA teams are coming into the plate. We know that Spurs are. I've seen an article saying that they are putting their team into the plate. And it will be interesting to see how many pull out, because if the ratio of PGA teams to FAWNL teams is wrong, it's going to really mess things up. Now, I understand that, if memory serves me right, 45 sides voted that PGA teams could play in the plate. So to me, that means that, the majority, just over half of the FAWNL teams said it was okay, but bear in mind that 36 of the FAWNL teams won't be playing in the plate. So you could have a situation if the 36 teams, and this is exactly worst case scenario, but if the 36 teams that voted to allow PGA teams into the plate all qualified for the Cup, and we only have one all tier 3 tie, but if they all qualified for the Cup, that would mean that in the plate 9 teams voted for the PGA teams, the rest didn't. Imagine if the rest said and had opted, you had to opt out earlier on in the season at the AGM. You couldn't just go, oh, we've lost, we can't be bothered now. You could, but I think you get fined at this point, whereas you didn't get fined earlier on in the season. Imagine if all the sides that didn't vote ended up in the plate and went, no, we're all right, thank you. We'll stick to just playing the league, concentrating on the league. You've got to get through to the quarterfinals of the plate to get any money, which is another maybe 3 games before you get any money in the plate. And even if you win money in the plate, it won't cover all the travel and stuff from the season. No, we're all right, thank you. You then get the possibility that only 9 FAWNL teams want to go through into the plate. It's a very, very worst case scenario, but just imagine it. So you've got 9. Let's say every PGA team, 23 of them, goes in. That would then take you to your nice 32 by pure coincidence. But you've got 9 FAWNL teams and the rest are PGA teams. How long are those 9 FAWNL teams going to last in that competition? I am still concerned that we're going to end up with the FAWNL plate being like the EFL trophy or the Bristol Street Motors trophy or the Papa John's trophy or whatever that one with League 1 and 2 men's teams is called now. It just seems as though that could turn into a little bit of a joke of a competition. Hopefully not. We'll see. Hopefully, teams are all up for playing in the plate and getting the opportunity for some more money coming into the club. But we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see how those ties go as well, because last year the tier 3 sides all beat the tier 4 sides. The only tier 3 sides that were left in the competition in the plate were the result of all tier 3 ties, if I remember rightly. And as soon as that determining round was done, we looked at the board and went, oh, well, the plate will be won by Derby. And the plate was won by Derby. And so I think it is good in the sense that the plate competition now, if you've got the PGA teams in, you can't look at the competition in August or the first week of September, as it was when we did it, and go, that team's going to win, and then 8 months later that team wins. But I am still concerned about the level that those PGA sides are going to be playing at in comparison to teams that have been, at work and training in the evenings all week. But we'll see. So plenty coming up then over the next 7 days or so. More league fixtures and then the majority of the cup fixtures as well. Next Thursday I'll be back with all the very latest from that. And we'll see what happens with those cup ties. Of course, there will still be 15 cup ties to go, but not a huge amount we can do about that. I'm away from the Friday afterwards, so can't do a delayed recording. So we'll just have to then do the end of the cup the week after that. But that will about do it for this week's episode of the Women's Football Chat, as football is finally back underway. Thank you very much for watching and or listening to this week's episode of the Women's Football Chat. I'll be back next Thursday at 6 p.m. Please feel free to like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss a single episode. But for now, goodbye.